What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist here with
Gersh1.
Just Do It.
Yes.
Because you got a Nike hat.
Yes.
But anyway, we're back at it. Going to be answering your questions in another installment of 1, 2, 3 for the greater.
The countdown is new. This is a video series where we answer the questions left by you, the viewer. If you have a question for us, comment down below. Put question in front of your question because we get to those questions first.
That is what Lone Goat 81 has done. His question is, what purpose do you think the Big E had in mind for the Space Wolves, the Alpha Legion, and the Salamanders, since each has a unique gene seed created by the Emperor specifically for some special role?
Yes, we kind of talked about this in a previous Greater WAAAGH episodes where we went through each individual Space Marine first founding legion, and we talked about what made them unique. For all those that don't know, when the Emperor created the Primarks, each individual Primark was supposed to be a representation of some form of like warfare tactic or aspect of warfare. That the Emperor like assigned to that Primark, and his legion was going to follow in those footsteps. So for example, like the Alpha Legion were supposed to be about espionage and spies and all that kind of stuff, which is why Alpharius and Omegon were so secretive, and which is why the Alpha Legion, you don't really know what's going on with them.
Yeah, it's like, are they good guys? Are they bad guys? Am I Alpharius? Are you Alpharius?
Yep. So then out of the three that you mentioned, we'll break down the Space Wolves first because they're pretty much the easy guys. They are the close combat, like barbaric.
Yeah, they represent like ferocity in warfare. Just listening to your primal instincts, just going in there and tearing apart the enemy with.
Not to the extent of Angron and his World Eaters. They're just like the complete rage that a soldier would feel out in the battlefield, whereas a Space Wolf's rage is more tempered, and they are supposed to be pack. They're supposed to be like the wolves of Fenris, and they're supposed to hunt together and that brotherhood, whereas like the World Eaters, it's just rage. Yeah. It just so happens that they're next to each other. The best example of that is like Karn. He basically killed his own guys.
He doesn't care. Yeah, he doesn't care where the fight is as long as it's there. And if it happens to be your own battle brother, you're in the wrong spot at the wrong time.
And I think for the future of the Space Wolves, the Emperor probably had in mind, other than the whole military aspect of like they're supposed to be the close combat guys, he had in mind that idea that they're going to be their own autonomous thing. Like while...
Well, I think that was the case with every legion.
Well, while most first founding legions that were loyal still, even when you look at chapters that don't adhere to the Codex Astartes, like the Black Templars, they're still a successor of the Imperial Fist. Out of all of them, I really do... Yeah, I think they're supposed to represent like that they're going to stick together no matter what.
Right. But at the same time, like the Emperor had a nickname. Well, I don't know if it was the Emperor that gave him the nickname, but Leman Russ got the nickname of being the Emperor's lapdog, the Emperor's executioner. And that was kind of seen when he was sent to destroy, was it the 11th or the 2nd Legion? One of those two lost legions. He was basically the executioner for that legion. So I think that's also another trait that can be passed down to the Space Wolves and Leman Russ, that they were meant to be like the guillotine of the Emperor. You need somebody taken down, send the wolves.
Yeah, if the Emperor ever does come back, it would be awesome to... Now, this is all complete speculation based on that, though. But if he ever does come back, it would be nice to see the Space Wolves be his executioners and get rid of the Imperial Creed.
I could see that happening.
Because check out our 40 facts on the Inquisition versus the Space Wolves, and the Space Wolves and the Inquisition do not get along. The Inquisition tried to invade Fenris, and they failed. So... It kind of goes along with the whole idea of like they're always going to be autonomous. They're going to be their own thing. The Imperium can do whatever it wants. They can worship whatever they want. But at the end of the day, I think they're going to try to stay together and then follow the pack leader, which is Leman Russ or the Emperor, whoever's around.
Right. Or Bjorn.
Or Bjorn the Fellhand.
We kind of already touched base on the Alpha Legion, but let's go a little bit more in depth. So, yeah, like you were saying before, they're the spies. They're all about espionage. And there's a bunch of rumors circulating where Alfarius and Omegon, or one or the other, was found. And a lot of it states that they never were lost. The ruinous powers of the warp never flung them across the solar system. They were always at the side of the Emperor. And that could be why they're so great at what they do, because they were being taught specifically by the Emperor himself. Now, again, that's just a theory.
Yeah, and the whole thing about the theory with the Alpha Legion is that, yes, they are actually double crossers. So they know the story of the Cabal. For all those people that don't know who the Cabal is, it's just an organization of Xenos
And humans.
And humans, yeah. That got together and they understood that if they let Horus win, then Horus will make the Imperium break out into a even bigger civil war, and eventually all of humanity would die out. So that was their goal. Their goal was to let Horus win.
Because the dying out of humanity means that chaos wouldn't have human souls and emotions to feed off of, eventually weakening chaos to the point of non-existence.
Yep, and then the Emperor kind of went to the Alpha Legion and told them about the Cabal, and then the Alpha Legion started working with Horus to try to win. But in the meantime, the Alpha Legion was really working under the guidance of the Emperor and his secret schemes. And then obviously the Horus Heresy, or the battle on Terra happened, and the Emperor being put on the Golden Throne. And now we don't really know. It would be kind of cool if they did, like they have been loyal this entire time.
Right. It was all the Emperor's plan to be put on the Golden Throne, and everything went according to his plan. So who knows?
Like they're basically the ace in the hole, or whatever.
Maybe they're the reason how and when the Emperor revives.
Yeah, and if you look at the lore of the Alpha Legion, even though they're chaos and divided, they are one of those Space Marine legions that has the least amount of mutations.
Right, like very little demon princes, spawn, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because they're just like on that border, like teetering on like, yes, they are completely chaos, or there's something else to them. Mm-hmm. Kind of like the Fallen. And then what was the other one?
The last one was the Salamanders. Oh. So what was the purpose of the Salamanders? I think this one's kind of simple if you just stand back and look at the bigger picture. Yeah. The Salamanders are very friendly to humanity, whereas most Space Marines look at humanity as just like a nuisance. Salamanders go out of their way to protect humans, make sure that anytime there's a battlefield that humanity is safe before actually like fighting.
Yeah, and I think the whole theory with the Emperor and what his view on what the Space Marines were going to be in the future, to me at least, this is just my theory, is that they were going to be the same thing as the Thunder Warriors. As soon as the Great Crusade was complete and the Imperium was basically in control of the galaxy, they were going to kill off the Space Marines, and the Primarchs, they were going to be gone. Because the Emperor wanted humans to rule over humans. He didn't want the Primarchs to take positions of power and stuff like that, which eventually led to the Horus Heresy. But I think that the Salamanders might be his redemption of like, no, we could teach these Space Marine that have been around that, yes, you can be angels of death, but at the same time protect humanity, because the Salamanders have been doing it this entire time. Mm-hmm. So maybe that, they're supposed to represent the good side of a Space Marine towards humanity.
Right, because I mean, if there's humans around, I'm pretty sure a Space Marine won't sacrifice himself to protect a life.
Never.
Yeah, that was a good question. Very interesting take on these three legions. So let's continue on.
Yes. Next question comes from Timothy Armstrong. Do the Primarchs have playable models in 40K? Yes, they do.
One loyalist currently, that being Gilliman, and two traitor Primarchs, being Demon Primarchs of Mortarion and Magnus the Red.
Yes, and hopefully Fulgrim this Christmas season. Yeah. Let's cross our fingers that happens, and hopefully a loyalist Primarch comes to fight him.
Yeah.
But yeah, so far, if you actually wanted to play your Primarch, you can just go over to Forge World, and Forge World has almost every single Primarch.
I think they're missing like 2 or 3.
Yeah, and then Do their 30K
No.
stats transfer over yet?
No, because it's still 7th edition, I believe, is what 30K Horus Heresy uses. So yeah, technically you can't play them. You can try to convert 7th edition rules to 8th edition, but there's a few little wonky things. Yeah, I'd say just play them using Guilliman rules.
Yep. Next question comes from Tropical Heat. Can the Imperium hire the Night Lords? This is a good question. Specifically, I'm sure you can create a scenario where yes, like a certain planetary governor might seek the help of a chaos warband if the enemy that they're fighting is also the enemy of the chaos warband. So yes, you can twist the lore to have that in your own fluff. But will you see it? Is there specific situations where that happens? Not that I can think of, or not that I've come across. Specifically, the Night Lords, no.
The way I see it, the Night Lords could agree to be hired and like bought as mercenaries, but I feel like there's going to be some ulterior motive, or they're just going to double cross and kill whoever hired them.
Yep. So they're basically just the freebooters, if you do want to put that in your lore.
This next one, we kind of touched based on it a little bit, but let's go more in depth. Wait, That's Illegal has asked, who's the next Primark that is most likely to return and why? Will he have a big titty Eldar GF to one-up our spiritual liege Guilliman?
So he said Fulgrim is going to be the next Primark to come back, but he is a Demon Primark. Now, I'm guessing you did he say Loyalist?
He just said Primark.
Okay, well, Fulgrim's probably the next one to come out because Slanesh is going to come out with some stuff.
Mm-hmm. If you, by the time you're seeing this, you've probably already seen that Warhammer community has put out a bunch of novels that are going to be releasing soon, and one of them deals with the Lion. So there's going to be a whole novel coming out for the Lion. Rumors for like the past year has been that the Lion would be the next one to come out. So is this kind of alluding to something? Is this foreshadowing that the Lion will be next? I don't know.
Yeah. Last time, the reason that it wasn't true was because the Lion ended up coming out for Forge World, didn't he? Or no?
No, because I don't think the Lion has a model in Forge World yet.
I don't really like the Dark Angels. I don't like the Fallen. I don't like the whole story of Cypher.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna be a bummer if the Lion comes out. And
that's probably the least Primark I want to come out, because I always felt like same thing. They're kind of bland.
He's like a Guilliman.
Yeah.
He's like a moody Guilliman. But yeah, we'll see. But Fulgrim for sure would be badass.
I'm almost 80% sure that Fulgrim will be coming out next.
Yes. And then this is gonna be the last question because I don't know how long we've been doing this. This comes from Anil In. Why did the squats get canned? They probably weren't doing that well. If you go into a GW store, usually it's the boxes or the armies that have the least amount of boxes on the wall are the ones that are not really played by people. So of course the Games Workshop won't buy those or stock those items. I think that's what it came down to. I think that people weren't playing Space Dwarves.
Yeah.
And then they wanted to introduce the Tau. They wanted to introduce the Tyranids. And they're like, well, no, we need to get rid of Space Dwarves. I want them to come back, though. And the Arcanauts, I think they're called.
Yeah, the ones from Age of Sigmar. Those are pretty cool.
So easy to convert.
Mm-hmm.
So easy to convert into some 40K gizmo or something.
Yeah.
But even their lore needs to be reworked because technically they're completely wiped out. There's only like a couple squads here and there, and they have a vengeance
against
or vendetta,
Tyranids.
Against the Tyranids because they destroyed their homeworlds. So we'll see what happens with them.
Yeah, I mean, you could always write it in that like a warp storm blew away, or
a whole fleet.
Yeah,
just appears out of nowhere.
That's why. Yeah.
But yeah, those were the questions for today. If you guys have more questions for us, comment down below. We answer this 3 times a week because the 4th week now we've been doing a podcast. So if you're into Dungeons and Dragons, check out the Dungeons and Dragon podcast on Thursdays usually.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And that's all we got for today. This has been The Sound Alchemist.
Gershwan.
And we are out of here.
give up my freedom.